You ever have a morning where you're standing at your own gate staring down two sheriff's deputies, and there's a woman screaming in your face that you're trespassing on your own land? Yeah, that's how my week started. Brenda Whitmore, queen of the HOA, waving her finger at my chest, calling 911 for the third time in 7 days, red-faced and hollering that I needed to be cuffed and hauled off her community's private road. The deputies looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. I let her finish her little speech, then pulled out my phone, opened the county recorder app, and just turned the screen to her, trying real hard not to laugh. Ma'am, you just padlocked my road. This whole valley, all 200 acres, I own it, including the dirt under your $800,000 house, and the water your fancy subdivision runs on mine, too. The way the blood just vanished from Brenda's face, you'd think I'd pulled a rabbit out of a hat. Both deputies actually took a step back. One of them suddenly found his boots fascinating. I let the moment sit there, but let me back up a second because you probably think I'm making this up. How does a regular guy end up owning a whole valley, staring down a Karen in half the county? Well, it started with my granddad. Everyone called him Pop, a handshake deal that went sideways, and a lesson in what happens when the wrong person decides they own something that never belonged to them. Pop homesteaded this patch of Colorado mountain in '52. Back then it was all pine and creek, and the kind of silence you could hear your own heart beating in. He filed with the feds, built a cabin, with his own 2 hands, raised my mom up here. We had no electricity till '73, no phone till '86. Just popped the mountains, and a work ethic that made mules look lazy. I spent every summer up here from age 6 to 18. Pop taught me how to fish, how to read animal tracks, how to split firewood so tight a chipmunk couldn't squeeze through. The place always smelled like pine sap and old coffee. Porch faced east. You could watch the sunrise turn the valley to gold. Closest thing to magic I've ever known. But in '89, Pop was 73, needed money for medical bills, and a developer named Castellano came calling, wanting to turn the lower meadow into houses. Pop didn't want a subdivision, but he was practical, sold them 45 acres down at the flat end, kept the road, the spring, and the upper valley for himself. That was the deal, and Castellano signed on. For a while it worked. 6 houses went up, nice families. Pop even shared venison with them in hunting season. Then Pop died in 2010, heart attack, fast and clean, just like he'd have wanted. I inherited everything, the cabin, the land, the whole 200 acres minus that meadow. But I was knee-deep in my tech career up in Seattle, pulling 80-hour weeks, keeping the property taxes paid but not coming home. 15 years zipped by, 15 years of Pop's legacy gathering dust, while I stared at code till 2 in the morning, living on Red Bull and regret. This spring 2025 burnout hit like a brick. I remembered the cabin, how I could work remote, restore the place, breathe air that didn't taste like old coffee cups. So I called the county to ask about building permits. The clerk goes, "Oh, that old place up in Pine Ridge Estates." Wait, what? Pine Ridge? What now? Turns out while I was away, the subdivision grew. The original developer retired, a new one bought up more land, slapped up 34 more houses, formed an HOA, and now there were 40 houses sitting below Pop's old cabin. Not 12 hours later, I got a voicemail. "This is Brenda Whitmore, president of Pine Ridge Estates, HOA. We're concerned about the abandoned structure at the upper end of our community." Real, professional, real firm. I thought I'd just show up, introduce myself, maybe bring cookies for the neighbors. Yeah, that was a fantasy. See, Brenda had turned herself into Queen Bee. She ran unopposed as HOA president, formed her own property management company, paid herself $3,000 a month out of HOA dues. That's $600 a year per household, a chunk of which went straight to Brenda. Power, money, control, she liked all 3. Her husband, Roger, used to be the county planning commissioner, helped approve the subdivision expansion before anyone knew Brenda's business was tied to it. When someone noticed, he retired rather than face a hearing. That's the sort of territory I was walking into, holding a folder of old property documents Brenda had never seen. First thing I see rolling in is new stone pillars, a wrought iron sign, Pine Ridge Estates, private community. Didn't used to be there. Roads fresh gravel, but a quarter mile and wham chain link gate. 10 feet wide industrial keypad lock camera sign that says residents only. No warning, no alternate route, just a gate. Number on the fence says call the HOA office for access. I call. Voicemail. Wait 45 minutes in my truck, no response. Try again, nothing. Pull up Google Maps looking for another way in. There isn't one. This valley's boxed in by mountains. Only this road. I grab my bag, walk around the gate. Maybe 200 yards in, here comes a black SUV, tires spraying gravel. Out steps Brenda, late 50s hair, streaked blonde shoes, clean as a hospital floor, phone already recording. She comes out hot. You're trespassing. Sheriff's on the way. I try explaining, ma'am. I own the cabin up the road. I just want the gate code. She cuts me off. That structure was condemned. This is a gated community. Leave or be arrested. Still recording. I keep calm. Years of IT taught me to keep my cool when someone's got a camera in your face. I say I have documentation. Happy to wait for the sheriff. She doesn't lower the phone. 20 minutes later, Deputy Hayes arrives. Young guy, crisp uniform. He listens to both sides. I show him my papers, property tax, Pop's will photos of the cabin from 2010. Brenda shows him her phone and some attitude. Hayes says, ma'am, he's got proof. He owns property here. This is a civil property dispute, not criminal. The HOA owns the road, maybe, but that's not for me to say. Brenda is furious, but punches in the gate code. I drive up to the cabin, windows busted, mice in the cabinets, roof leaking, but the bones are good. I start cleaning up, and behind a false wall in the closet, I find a fireproof safe. Combinations my birth year. Inside every paper Pop ever filed. Land patent survey maps, the deed water rights, a posted in Pop's writing mark. If anyone gives you trouble about the road, this box has everything you need. Love, Pop. Turns out Pop's original 1952 land patent covers all 200 acres minus that meadow. The 1989 sale. Only those 45 acres. The road, the spring, the rest still ours. And in the sale contract, clear as day, seller retains ownership and control of all access roads. Buyers get easement if they pay an annual fee, $1,000, rising 3% per year. Nobody paid since Pop died. By my math, the HOA owes $47,000 in back fees, and per the agreement, if they miss a payment by more than a year, easement's gone. No rights to the road. Oh, and Pop's got the senior water rights from '68, meaning I own the spring the whole subdivision drinks from. I call my mom's college friend Sylvia, a real estate lawyer in Denver. I send her everything. She calls back half laughing. Marcus, you've got them by the throat. They've been trespassing for 15 years, owe you almost 50 grand, and you can shut off their water. This isn't a dispute. It's checkmate. We file notice with the county, send certified copies to Brenda and the HOA. 72 hours to get that gate off my road, or I'm coming with bolt cutters. 72 hours later, gate's still there. So I drive down, have Ray Pop's old surveyor film me, and I snip that chain, drag the gate aside, post a sign, private road, easement by permission only, owner M. Holloway. My phone rings, Brenda's lawyer Mitchell threatening lawsuits. I tell him to bring it. Next day, a FedEx envelope with a restraining order. Brenda's claiming I'm a threat to community safety, that I destroyed HOA property. Judge schedules a hearing. Meanwhile, the HOA board is blindsided. Turns out Brenda charged every family $5,000 for a special assessment to fight me in court. A guy named Thomas, retired teacher on the board, comes to see me, brings county records showing they've all been lied to about the road. Most of them had no clue. Brenda had told them the county owned the road and the HOA was just managing it. Now here's the twist. Thomas becomes my unlikely ally. He sees the real documents and realizes Brenda's lied to everyone for years about the road, the water, the whole history. In court, Judge Portman, not someone you want to play games with, asks Brenda's lawyer if they have a deed to the road or a recorded easement. They don't. Sylvia lays out all the evidence, and the judge basically says, if you don't have paperwork at the next hearing, this gets dismissed and we'll talk sanctions. Brenda's losing her grip and the board starts turning on her. But Brenda desperately tries every trick. She calls in bogus code complaints, sends the sheriff out, files a new lawsuit claiming I'm running a business from the cabin, even files trespass complaints, which ironically she proves she's been trespassing by including photos of my property in her court filings. Then the story hits the local press. A journalist named Teresa gets wind, comes up documents, everything, interviews angry residents who are tired of paying Brenda's legal bills. It goes viral. Suddenly the whole board except Brenda wants to meet. At Thomas's house they apologize. They never knew the truth. They're ready to work it out. We cut a deal. I grant a permanent easement for the road. HOA pays the back fees over 10 years. They maintain the road with me and acknowledge my water rights. Sylvia insists on one last clause, a historical marker for Pop at the entrance Holloway Valley Est. 1952. Homesteaded by James Pop Holloway. I sign the papers in court. Judge smiles and says, this is how property disputes should end, with compromise. The aftermath, Brenda's voted out, the board replaces her, and the whole neighborhood starts to heal. At the barbecue marking the new conservation easement, 800 acres set aside forever, I give a speech about Pop, about legacy, about why we protect wild places, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who comes after. The HOA joins in funds the first years of Pop Holloway scholarships for local kids. The property values go up, not down. Turns out, sharing the valley opening trails, preserving the land for hikers and kids and future families, that's what built real value, not closing gates. A few months later, I get a letter from Brenda, postmarked Utah. She writes, I'm sorry. That's a good thing you're doing. I keep it not for forgiveness, but for closure. Sometimes pride is just a heavy backpack people can't put down till it's too late. So if you're up against an HOA or a Karen who thinks they run the world, here's my advice. Document everything, know what you own, find good people, and play the long game. And when you win, don't just tear down the old, build something better. Pops Valley is safe forever. That's my win. If this story hit home, or if you're fighting your own battle, drop a comment, share your story. Let's build a real community that knows their rights. And hey, maybe go check your property deed tonight. You never know what you'll find.